Popbangcolour. It is episode 7 of Driven In, Drawn Out. And I am rummaging around in the boot for a very important piece of equipment I need to create the next continuous car drawing. Oh, nice little squeak there as well. It is a rather beautiful Proton that is well known because it is driven by young Steph. How you doing?
Hello.
Welcome to Coventry.
Thank you very much. One of my favourite places.
Good, because you're trapped. You can't get out now because you're driven in, and until I finish that drawing, you're not going anywhere.
That's fine.
All right?
Yeah,
so
we can work with
I'm
that.
very angry then.
We don't have to pay parking here, so we're all right.
No, yeah, fine. Free parking, no tickets. It's fine. So I've got a ruler because this car is a very kind of a, you know.
It's all the angles.
It's all the angles, so I'm just going to use this.
Well, the reason I wanted to bring this was you let slip that you've never drawn a Proton before.
No, I've drawn Lotuses, which have a link to Proton, but no Protons.
No Protons, well, get that put right.
Get it. All right, go do it. Get that now. Just go. Right, well, we're going to go live, so it'll be on the Instagram, and it will be recorded. And my ruler, I'm taking it with me. Thanks.
Good luck. Goodbye.
Laters.
See you on Instagram. Ready, set, get drawing now!
Hi. How we doing?
I'm good, how are you?
Well, now that you've officially started this podcast with a clap, no pun intended, obviously. I've left my ruler behind. Oh no. I got a ruler for this, but it won't fit in this car anyway. It fit in your boot, but not in my car.
That's what they all say.
This is going to go. Yeah, it's going one way, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
It is. And we've got people on the Instagram live.
We
as well.
have. Hello, Engelsman75. I hope you're doing well. I am doing well. I've got a day off work today and I'm hanging out with Ian. I'm having a fabulous day. In Coventry.
Welcome to Coventry.
There's a really good restaurant. I was going to ask you this. Have you tried it? It's called Dosa Mama. Oh my gosh, it's amazing.
Where is it?
You need to take Taz. It's in Coventry.
It's a big city.
Okay, so a bit of trivia for everybody watching is you live just up the road from my best friend, and it took us less than 10 minutes to get from his to Dosa Mama, so it's not far for you either.
I will take Taz, I'm sure.
It's amazing. It costs less than £10 for a meal. That's
Bargain.
like all the benchmarks, good food and cheap.
But cheap, good food.
Yeah.
Excellent. That's how I like to treat my wife. Cheap, good food. So, right, remind me, it's a Proton.
It's a Proton Saga Iswara, and I didn't know what Iswara meant, and I've got some fantastic subscribers that when they started watching the video of the Proton, which I'll go into in a bit because I get a break today from boring people in supermarket car parks who vaguely show some interest to bore you instead today. But Iswara actually means butterfly, I think in Malaysian.
Oh, nice.
And they all commented and they were like, oh, do you know it means this? Do you know it means that? I absolutely love it, Ian. And I wanted to bring it today because I think a lot of people overlook the Proton and they think it's boring, it's a bit granddaddy. And like every time you see one posted on a Facebook group, people say they're terrible. But they're not at all, they're fantastic. And when I went to Malaysia, they were everywhere.
Good. Well, I'm looking forward to hearing about that trip as well. So let's throw it back. So when we first kind of met, we met online during lockdown.
We did.
We had a nice little chat. So then that was the Morris.
The Morris Marina.
Marina. I got there eventually. Morris Marina. But you could have brought a couple of other cars as well, but you've gone for the Proton. Because I haven't, out of 1,600 drawings, I've not done one yet. And yeah, this is the one that, for your channel, gets the most kind of, interaction likes.
Absolutely. I think the most interesting thing for me has been, it's opened a whole new world for me in terms of people online, car communities online. My friend John Coupland, who is, I would say, probably the most Proton mad individual in the UK, and quite proudly so, he said to me that, I want you to come and try my Protons. And so I went down to Lincolnshire to go and try his Protons. And then I had a subscriber watch that video. And then they contacted me because, someone said my Proton's one of the best they've ever seen. Oh, that's nice.
That's nice, isn't it?
I'm going to be really arrogant and say, yeah, it is actually.
yeah. I mean, you can be like, yeah, obviously.
So when I put the video up, it did really well, and I heard from loads of people in Malaysia, and the car community in Malaysia is one of my favourite in the entire world because they are some of the most friendly people, generous, kind. They're so good about sharing their knowledge as well. So if you want to know something, they're more than happy to help you, and I've had plenty of questions along the way. And they're just it's such an incredible car community over there, and they love our cars as well as Protons, and I never pronounce it right, Perodua? We'll go with
Produa.
that. Produa, yeah. I can never pronounce it. It's like one of my Achilles heels, sorry. A subscriber contacted me and said, it was a couple actually, a married couple, and they were a lovely pair. And the husband contacted me and said, my father-in-law's passed away, and in his garage is a car, and wondered if it might be of any use to you or anyone you know. And it was this Proton that you see me sitting in here today, and it hadn't been driven in over 10 years, and it was parked up under some blankets, looking pretty forlorn. And I said, you know what? I rang John, Proton Mad John, and I said, what do you think? And he said, yeah, you've got to do it, you've got to do it. And I said, oh, I need another car like a hole in a head. But I had been saying for a little while, maybe I do need something more reliable, because the Triumph and Marina were just driving me up the wall. Morris Minor was in resto. And I thought, right, let's just take a gamble, see what happens. So Matt from Furious Driving went and checked it for me, because the car was down in Kent, and it's still got the original plates and stuff on, which are from the Kent dealership. And Matt said to me, he said, oh, Steph, you've got to do it. And I said, did you try starting it? And he went, oh, no, I didn't try starting it.
Yeah, is it working? I didn't check that out. I just looked at it. I said, yeah, it looks good.
Well, he said to me, he said, look, he said, it looks all right, it looks good. I said, it doesn't look too rotten, does it? And he said, no, it looks great. And I got down there on the Saturday. My friend Colin came with us as well. So a trio of clowns essentially turn up to this deceased gentleman's house, and we attached a battery from a Morris Minor. We turned the key and it started straight away, and I thought, oh, this isn't bad, thank God for that. And so then the next stage was, let's do a quick assessment before the MOT. Did an assessment before the MOT. One light bulb was out, but everything else seemed to be fine. It even had water in the windscreen, washer jet bottle, everything.
And it'd been sat for 10 years?
Yeah.
That's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, I was so happy, and I was sitting in it, and there were loads of dead spiders, and I was quite scared. So I actually took it to a car wash, and these lovely people at the car wash sorted it out for me. And yeah, it got cleaned up, totally min. It had just over 10,000 miles on the clock from brand new.
And it'd been in a garage, so it's garage.
Yeah, and it'd been in the garage, and all that was wrong was one dead bulb and lots of dead spiders. And this couple were very generous in that they kind of donated it to me, and I gave them a charity donation for it, but I will never stop being grateful to them for giving me the most reliable car that I've ever owned, because it has changed my life. It's meant that I've got car reviews without stress. I've got all over the country in it. It's changed my life, and it's changed my view on 90s motoring, actually.
Look.
Oh my God, no way! You've like absolutely smashed it straight away.
See, and
can
straight
people
lines.
see that? Hold on.
Straight lines.
Yeah, oh look at that.
So you see it online as well. There we are, there's the initial, that's the continuous line of the car that has been started. So you can
fantastic.
see the outline there.
You've absolutely smashed it.
We first chatted about the Marina 2020. So, and I think your channel was relatively like a little bud. It sprouted some leaves, but it was there. But now, 40,000 subscribers.
Nearly, yeah. I reckon I'll probably hit it in the next month or so.
Ace. That's amazing.
Yeah, I think when we spoke, I just hit 5. So it's jumped up quite a lot in the meantime, and I've gone on plenty of adventures. So the Marina's been to France, and I've got some video footage of it, but I haven't put it online. A lot of people have asked me why, and I think it's because the trip went so badly wrong at the end that every time I come to edit it, I just feel like I'm in an absolute funk, and I just feel really annoyed about the whole situation. But as I wrote about in Practical Classics, it all fell apart. Well, not the whole car. I mean, if you looked at it, you might think it would fall apart. But actually, the clutch disintegrated because it was a repro part, and it was just naff. And it had gone in just before the trip as well. And there were so many things that I thought might break on that car, but that was not the thing that I thought was going to go. And I was so cross, Ian. I
remember seeing you, because you did this just before going to the NEC Classic, wasn't it?
Yeah, and then I had to fly back because the car didn't make it back.
But at the same time, I mean, hats off to you. Like you doing these trips and these cars. Some people just keep them in the garage forever. Some will never see the light of day again. Some will just be parked up in a museum, and that's now their life. Whereas, yourself and the others in your scene, with Hovnert, and you're keeping these cars going and the journeys that they should be on.
Absolutely, but I think if we learn one thing through all the stuff that happened in 2020 when we first met, is that life is very short. And everything that we know and love could disappear tomorrow. And, there were a lot of bleak months. And I remember saying to myself that once everything lifted as much as it could do, or whatever semblance of normality we ever returned to, I would make sure that I didn't waste a weekend, I didn't waste a day. And I don't think I've had a single sofa day since COVID. I've not sat at home at all. I've used every single minute. So I'm constantly tired and I'm always broke. But I think, well, life is for living, isn't it? Because when I'm sitting in that old people's home in a few decades' time, at least I can say, I had a really good laugh along the way.
But knowing you, mate, the decor in your old is going to be fabulous. Yeah, it's basically going to be Auntie Olive's shop.
It is.
Just put into an old people. I think.
And I think for anybody who's not been down to FarGo Village yet, Auntie Olive is the absolute bomb in terms of vintage shops. Angela is running, in my opinion, the best vintage shop in the UK.
And basically it's catnip for you, isn't it?
Oh, I go in and she's always got something in my size and I'm like, no, can't you just stock a size 8 like everybody else and just not have anything to fit me? But that's the thing about Angela is, I've lost, that's one of the big things that I've obviously done. I've gained subscribers, but I've also lost a lot of weight and that's been a big thing. And I think that that's one of the really nice things about Angela is that she was kind to me when I was at my biggest, and obviously now, like, nothing's ever changed about Angela. She's such a lovely woman, and even when I went in and I had like no confidence and I was kind of like, oh, I don't know if you'll have anything to fit, and I almost apologised for taking up space, and she pulled out all these dresses, and I remember she was just so nice, and she was like, what about this, what about that, and she was so enthusiastic. And I think that she's great because she stocks clothes for ladies of every size, and I just love her. And I also bought some really good shoes off her last time I came. And as you know, I do like to dress to match the cars. I haven't been able to match today because this is a really weird colour to try and match to. It's like all the dead lady clothes of the UK all come together, and then I'm like, right, let's chuck them all together and make an outfit. If something looks really flammable, I'm probably going to really like it.
If it's from off of a time where health and safety just wasn't a thing, that's for me.
Yeah, go back to the cars. Sorry, we do this when we see each other at events because we've seen each other quite a lot this year.
Now events are. I mean, slightly going to road trips. I mean, I'm looking for this car. This very car I'm sat in is going on a Scottish road trip tomorrow.
Where are you going?
I'm literally driving this to Edinburgh.
Are you really? Have you been to Edinburgh before? I've
been to Edinburgh, but I've not driven, like, it's always, I've flown there. Whereas I've got an event with Porsche Edinburgh tomorrow. Cool. Thursday. So I'm taking in the sights and automotive sounds on the way. Plus I want to get a photo of it next to like Angel of the North and things.
Edinburgh's incredible. I once took a Morris Minor. I remember going up and the gearbox was a bit iffy anyway on the way up. And I left with 4 forward gears and I came home with 2 forward gears. And the gearbox was absolutely knackered. It had fallen to bits by the time I got home. But, it was such a good trip. But because of those hills, and I only had 2nd and 3rd gear left, and it was going up, it was like, and it was like, because all the broken bits of the gearbox were like rattling around inside. So it sounded like I was dragging a load of ball bearings. And then the police were standing on the side of the road, and I thought, oh, please just don't look at me. Just keep doing whatever you're doing, and I'll keep whatever I'm apparently doing, I'll also keep doing.
So yeah, so in terms of the car you're sat here, this Proton.
Yes.
So have you had to do anything to it? Is it just?
Not really. But I like to be really honest with people. So as you know, I'm restarting Tinkering Tuesdays because after surgery I lost a lot of my strength. And it's taken me a little while to build it back up along with my confidence, because I did some work a few months ago and I could feel that I was really, really weak and I didn't feel quite ready to jump back into it. And I thought, no, give myself a little bit longer. So then I picked up the spanners again quite recently and I thought, yeah, I feel like I'm almost back on top of it. So I'm going to start tinkering Tuesdays again.
Because obviously at the moment, with cars over a certain age, they don't have to go through a thorough MOT.
No.
So how's your kind of stance for that? Is that a good thing? Is that
No, I think it's terrible. I get really cross about this. So anything over 40 years old doesn't need an MOT, and that's a rolling exemption. So if you think about what that might include now, that's going to start including things that I would consider quite modern. So I mean, the Maestro is 40 this year. So,
my dad had two of those.
Did he?
Yeah, two. And a bronze one. Did one get stolen? One might have got. No, Mum's Metro got stolen and burnt out. No, he had a blue one, and then he had a bronze one. The bronze one was slightly better spec.
Was it?
Slightly. But yeah, and then we went on to, after that it was Fords because of Rover and Ford buying Rover, and that's when my parents had their cars through my uncle.
I was about to say, you can tell you're from Birmingham when you said two Maestros, and then you got mentioned they got stolen and burnt out, and I thought, if I say it now, it's going to sound really offensive.
What says Birmingham more than a stolen Maestro?
I think people just love stealing Metros. My first Metro got nicked. They actually couldn't get it going, so they just left it in the end with a broken off steering wheel. I was like, oh, thank you. So MOTs, just done a campaign at work actually, which was Second Set of Eyes Saves Lives. And I was really inspired by it because I saw on a few Facebook groups, people were dragging out cars that looked like they hadn't been on the road since Jesus Christ was a toddler. And they were saying stuff like, oh yeah, I've just found this in a garage and I'm just gonna like put a new battery on it and start driving it. And I thought, are you thick? Like, you were on single circuit brakes there and you're about to just go out for a drive. Like, are you actually thick? Because the thing is, it only takes, one of my friends said this, I think it's my friend Colin of Minor Battery, who came to Proton Day fame, and he said to me once, he said, it's only going to take one person whose brakes fail and plough into a row of school kids at the bus stop to ruin classic cars for everybody. So the thing that I can recognise is that when you get an MOT, really you're only saying that the car is safe, technically safe, for the day of the test. And I realise that there are people out there that will exploit the system and will know someone who can do an MOT and will exploit that loophole. But say, just take all that out of the equation and just think about best practice. The reason that I think a health check or a safety check for all cars should be mandatory is because however clever we are, however talented we are, and I really feel like I know my cars very well, when one of my cars went in for an MOT, somebody said to me, oh, just that'll probably need doing in 6 months. And I thought, I hadn't even noticed that, or I hadn't even thought about that. And that's the great thing, and that's why I called it Second Set of Eyes Saves Lives, because I think it can save a life. I mean, people go on and off about E10 petrol, but actually what people should be getting passionate about is making sure that every car on our road is fit to be on our road. I mean, I recognise that a pre-war car that has a completely different setup to a car that's made in 2023 will not be able to undergo the same set of tests. But in the same way that we have a register of Corgi safe gas engineers, could we not have a register of people that we say, well, this person in this area can check pre-war vehicles and provide a government safety certificate of some sort? There must be something that we can do. And when people say, oh, but I only take it out a few times a year, yeah, and that's probably the worst, because you've got a confidence in there that you think, well, I checked it a year ago and that was great and I've not really done anything since. But vehicles that sit and don't do anything are able to still degrade just as much as a car that's out on the road. And in fact, a car that's probably used more often, you're going to be looking under the bonnet more, you're going to be fiddling around with stuff more. Every car, no matter how much it's used, should be sorted out. Now, I've got a question for you, seeing as you've asked me about MOTs.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on ULEZ and the expanding ULEZ zone?
I mean, unfortunately, it's going to, what I hope doesn't happen is I hope that the classic cars that are in that area, there isn't just a mass kind of dumping. I mean, we all have these cars. One, it's friendship groups, and two, we want to go to Bicester and we want to go to places and enjoy them because it brings people together. Essentially, That's what's lovely about any classic car. You know, we want people who are passionate about it. We do it because we have it's like a second family almost.
The thing is there are so many cars in London. So we went down a couple of weeks ago to do some filming, And for people at home that want a really good kind of point of how far out it's stretching, it's almost to the point of Ace Cafe, isn't it?
Yeah,
like
it's
the
big.
extended zone, and it goes out towards Surrey and all the rest of it. And I don't know what your thoughts are, but I think it's a really, there's a lot of people, okay, so taking all the politics out of it, there's a lot of people that are on limited income, and we're all stretched at the moment, aren't we? I think no matter what we earn or who we are, I think everybody's feeling the pinch in some respect. And there's a lot of people that do what I like to call almost that unseen work. So window cleaners, hospital porters, people that work unsociable hours, all these people that work hours where public transport probably won't run, and definitely doesn't run at the moment in these zones, if they are on a lower income bracket and they're already struggling, because they probably are, because council tax is going up, bills are going up, but wages aren't going up to reflect it, is now the right time to say we're going to extend the ULEZ zone, because those people will now be in a horrible situation where they might find themselves without transport, or they may be in a horrible situation where they're in a really stuck between a rock and a hard place. And I feel quite passionate about it, and old people as well. It's just not great, is it? I don't know what the solution is, but...
Yeah, and the flip side of that is that obviously you can then electrify classics, but then there's the
The cost is prohibitive, though,
yeah,
isn't it?
I mean, if I wanted to put an electric conversion in the Chevette, you're looking at about 25k, 30k.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't got that to,
I don't know. I think there's a place for everything. But I think just finishing up on the ULEZ thing, I think something that I would like to see is an amnesty. So because I don't really like waste, whether it's food, cars, clothing. I mean, if you come to my house, apparently anything's I'm a hoarder. But if we did an amnesty system whereby if you have an old car in London already, and you're allowed to carry it through to the end of its life. So eventually, when it's no longer economically viable to keep it on the road, you then send it off for scrap, or it's parted out or whatever. I'd feel more at peace with that. But at the moment, we're going to end up with so many cars where there's nothing wrong with them. Cars like this, for example, which would have gone for scrap. So if I didn't go and get it, it would have ended up going for scrap, basically. And it's like, I've put over 30,000 miles on it since September 2021. And you just think, how does that match up in terms of usability? I've put all those miles on this car. I haven't had to go and buy a new car. I haven't had to use finite materials. When I went down, I drove this car in, and I just thought, God, I could drive a Morris Minor in, and because anything over 40 years old, you don't have to pay ULEZ on, but anything in that weird squeezed bracket between 39 and this weird cut-off point, you have to pay the £12.50 on. Apparently, I'm just reading here, Florida has no inspection. You should see some of the scary stuff on the road. Okay, I really want to go now and have a look.
Florida.
Well, I took...
No, I drive a classic Florida. It's got, I think that's a new whole episode right there.
Well, we did I drive a classic Malaysia, because everybody in Malaysia was so friendly and kept saying you should come over to Malaysia, that the next thing I knew, I was in Singapore with my auntie.
So how did that come around? So like, because I think we saw each other, and you were like, I'm going to Malaysia. I was like, amazing. What? And you're like, well, it just has happened.
Yeah, my auntie turned 60. Not that you believe it, because she always looks fantastic. And she said she wanted to do a big birthday do, and she lives in Australia, and I hadn't seen her since pre-2020. And I said, right, okay, I'll come and see you in Singapore then, and because she was stopping there. So we spent a week in Singapore, and I don't remember why, but I was killing a bit of time, and I was looking at Google Maps, and I thought, oh, Malaysia's only just around the corner. How much is it to fly there? And to fly back via Malaysia, I actually saved 50 quid, and I thought, this is a sign, I've got to do it. So we went to Malaysia, and we did the I Drive a Classic meetup. I've got the videos coming soon, and I'm doing a piece for Practical Classics on it, but we did an I Drive a Classic meetup. We worked with a lovely man called Rukshan from Malaysia Classic Cars. Incredible account, so anybody who's on Instagram really should go and check him out. He's driving some awesome stuff over there. He's got a Proton jumbuck, he's got the Escorts, he's got all sorts. And then we met up with some really lovely people over there, and we went to the Proton head office. And the greatest thing is because they've got no MOTs over there, our people patch stuff up and keep it going. So there were so many Proton Sagas. So on the first night, because we went out for a walk, and we saw all these Protons, we were like, yeah, Proton Saga! And we must have seen 5 or 6 and we were very excited. But by like the last day, we're like, oh yeah, there's another one. And we're like, that's cool.
yeah, just, oh, there's another one. No, it's...
But some of them look like they've driven through an apocalypse, and it is incredible. Absolutely incredible. And they're really heavily modified, some of them. So people have put body kits on them, or they're slammed, and people do cool things. And any time I was talking to somebody and I was getting really excited, they were like, oh yeah, I just drive a Proton Saga. But it's got a totally different connotation over there to what it had here. So over here, a lot of taxi drivers really favoured them.
Yeah.
Taxi drivers and old men, from what I've heard from everybody. And over there, they were kind of classless in that way that the Beetle was, in the way that the Morris Minor was, in that anybody from a politician to a teacher to somebody doing just manual labour could drive a Proton Saga, and it was seen as the people's car of Malaysia. And there's so much love for them, and when you show people them and you say, oh, you know, it's really exciting, and they're really excited that you're excited, and they have such a love for their homegrown brands that I wish we had here. I feel like it's very British to run them down and be like, oh, British Leyland were rubbish, rah, rah, rah. But they don't run their own brands down over there. They're really proud, and I loved that. I felt like they celebrated it, and it was just such an inspirational culture. And that was one of the things that I loved so much about it over there.
So in terms of the UK scene, so what in terms of the upcoming summer season and whatnot, what are you planning to be at? What shows are you looking forward to?
Well, of course, I work for Lancaster Insurance during the day, so shameless plug, if anybody needs classic car insurance, let me know. There's some really exciting stuff, club events. I know that we're going to the MG Centenary. I'm not there because I'm on Miners on Tour. So in terms of stuff that I'm doing this year, I'm going to Miners on Tour. I want to do Best of British down at Brooklands. That looks like it's going to be amazing. I always love going to the British Motor Museum events, so I tend to kind of have a look through, make sure I go to those. I want to go to York Festival of Vintage this year. Okay. I'm really excited to do that.
Is that with cars, or is that just?
Yeah, they have cars outside.
Okay.
So they have like a car display outside, and I said I was going to go a few years ago, but I'm going to go this year. I'm not booking a car in because it's just too much pressure. I'm just going to go as myself and go and enjoy. And I'm just getting really emotional looking at a picture because I always said that I wasn't going to love the Proton. I was like, no, it's just going to be a little workhorse. It's going to do what it needs to do, and I'm not going to get emotional about it. I'm not going to invest anything in it. And yeah, no, I am really emotional about it. I do really like it. And
as long as it's tears of joy.
Yeah, I know, it's a beautiful picture. It's a really beautiful picture, and I think you've really done it justice, actually.
And I didn't need a ruler either.
No,
it's all
do you know
freehand.
what? That's really, do you know, that's just such a lovely picture. I'm not going to spoil the surprise. I was going to get out the car and come and have a look, but I'm going to have a look at the end. Because I do this, it's like when I watch a film or something on TV and I Google it and I find out what the ending is. I'm not going to do that to myself.
See, my wife is really, she has to know the whole plot line to enjoy a film.
Yeah, so do I.
And I don't get that. I'm like, what you kind of need, if you know what's going to happen, you kind of, no?
No. Since I last saw you, my fan belt went at the side of the road, and there was no hard shoulder, so I just took my tights off and tied it round and got home that way.
So does this mean I need to wear tights when I'm driving the Chevette?
No, you can just take a stocking, because I had to, it was really grim. I had to talking about it, I feel like Bear Grylls, because you can only use one leg of a tight, because otherwise it's too thick to tie both legs round. So I had to rip a leg off, and these were quite expensive tights, and I had to rip one leg off with my teeth, and I'm like sweating by the side of the road, hoping a lorry doesn't go into the back of me, tie it dead tight, and use it as a fan belt, and it actually got me back. It got me back, it got me like 20 miles back.
That's awesome, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, someone's looking forward to Tinkering Tuesdays, absolutely. You've also been told, Ian, what a great piece of artwork for a fantastic Proton car.
Well, that's very sweet.
Have you ever driven a Proton?
Nope. My car history is not great. It's not
next time I come up, do you want to go out for a drive?
Yeah, okay. Well, you know what? I think we're pretty much done.
Are you done?
I would say. I think I'm happy with what we have produced. Right, I've now joined Steph in the lovely Proton to reveal the continuous car drawing I've created for Driven In, Drawn Out, and here it is.
Oh, I was turn it round, you want. I want to look too.
Ta-da!
Hey! That is so good. great.
There we are, see.
Thank
That's
you.
for you.
Oh, I love it.
Or you can hang it in the toilet or something.
No, this is going in the hallway. Everyone's going to see it when they come
Hallway.
round. So I can move to boring people outside to boring people inside as well.
Excellent. Good.
Right, you ready to go?
I'm ready to go. And we're done.
Hey!
To see more continuous card drawings being created, you can follow on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube. Go on, smash all the like buttons and other things.